As you come in, say where you are watching from. And happy Friday to everybody. Welcome to Cozy Corner TV, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Karen Smith. Call me Q, and we are on the corner. We on the corner. What's up, y'all? It's Friday. I hope your week has treated you well thus far. And yeah, we're late today, man. I had to walk my dogs kind of late tonight. Family stuff. It's Friday. You guys know how it is. Getting ready for the 4th with the family. The 4th is a big deal around here in the Smith household. So, yeah, we're getting ready for all that good stuff. I hope you guys had a good week. Man, it's crazy. Like, we are approaching the end of June. It's crazy. Like, June's almost over, guys. June 20th, 2025. Almost over. I think it's only 30 days in June, so we only got 10 days left of the month. I'm like, wow. The year is flying. All right, guys. So, with that being said, I have up what we're going to be looking at today. Pretty quick clips as well today. Like I said, working on shortening the length of time we're watching the clip. So even if we're watching something that's about 10 minutes, we're probably not going to watch the whole entire clip. We're capping at about 6 minutes now. So I've talked about that in the last live stream. So with that being said, we're going to get into what we're going to be digesting tonight. As an advocate for mental health and wellness, I ask that you guys are grounded and regulated before you take this in. Why? Because news can be triggering. So if you're not grounded or regulated, please come back and watch this later. But if you are, welcome to the daily live stream. All right, guys, first up on the menu, we got Bill O Reilly. Shout out to Bill. We love Bill over here on the channel. We have Bill O Reilly reports the truth about the original anti-ICE/anti-Trump protest. So we're going to take a look at Bill covering that. Then we're going to switch gears and go over to Fox News clips. The American people deserve the facts. Former FBI special agent on Trump assassination tip. So then we're going to take a look at what Fox News has to say about that. We'll stick with Fox News and go over disgusting. Homan puts Democratic governor on blast. So we're going to take a look at which Democratic governor Tom Homan happened to go after the border czar. And then still with Fox News clips, doctor who exposed Children's Hospital. These were all lies. So this is a hospital that specifically was practicing transgender care, but they hid it from the public. So we will take a look at that. And then we'll finish up the live stream with a Christian clip from Cliff Buell. Shout out to Cliff Buell. You guys go check out his channel if you get a chance. Last name Buell. So shout out to him. We end the live stream over here every single night with a Christian clip. Liam, shout out to you. How you doing? I'm doing well. How are you doing? Welcome to the live stream. Hit that like button for me. Happy Friday, guys. All right, so we're going to jump into the first clip. Mr. Bill O'Reilly reports the truth about the organized anti-ICE, anti-Trump protest. You guys say what's up in the chat and hit that like button for me.
There are two big stories, and if you go to BillO'Reilly.com, we're all over the Iran, Trump, Israel thing. Way ahead on the story. But the No Kings thing, that is more of an investigative thing, and I want to tell you that. What we found out, because I think you'll find it interesting. So some people say it's the biggest mass demonstration in American history. That's not true.
No.
The Vietnam War demonstrations were larger, and they were what they call organic. They weren't organized by pressure groups, as the No Kings was. It's a big, big difference. People were genuinely worried, concerned, and angry about the Vietnam War. This anti-Trump stuff is ginned up. Not to say that there aren't millions of people who hate Trump, there are, okay? But here's how it went down. And I have to credit Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, who really been looking at this and has come up with some interesting stuff. So one of the big drivers behind this No Kings thing, which was organized 3 months ago, again, not spontaneous, is Christy Walton, the heiress of the Walmart fortune. It's pumped millions of dollars into it. And the group that takes the money is called Indivisible, all right? That's from the Pledge of Allegiance. Indivisible. INDIVISIBLE. It's a progressive group, okay? They got all this money from a number of different concerns. We'll tell you about them. And then they organized 4 months ago this protest. All right, before Trump did anything. and he wasn't even hardly in office yet. That's number one, okay? So George Soros' Open Society Foundation is involved, of course, and they pumped in about $3 million to Indivisible. And since 2018, 7 million. So Soros pumping millions of dollars into this crew. When I say crew, it's only a few people, and they make a lot of money. Believe me, they're taking a lot of money out for themselves, but plenty of money left over to organize. In addition, the AFL-CIO, the union, all right, pumped in $59 million. It has received, the AFL-CIO has received more than 59 million federal grants, and it pumped in a percentage of that, I don't know exactly the percentage, to this No Kings protest. They were the big money behind it, the AFL-CIO. So the federal government, the Trump administration actually paid for it, but it was Biden then, okay? So the AFL-CIO gets all this money in the feds and it pumps in to organize demonstrations against politicians it doesn't like. Very cute, right? Nice scam. All right, anyway, the American Federation of Teachers, Action Network Fund, Black Voters Matter, all pumping money into the No Kings demonstration. What does that mean? It means getting lists of people, buying media, organizing people to call people, be at this place at this time, chartering buses, making signs, all of that. Okay? Again, not spontaneous. So you would think that the media would report that, right? No. No, not in America. No.
Not in America.
Here's NBC News, David Noriega. This is a hard news story. June 12th. Go.
Yesterday, for example, I noticed immediately as soon as people started gathering in the afternoon and into the evening that there was a pretty sort of joyous, celebratory atmosphere to these gatherings. Across the street at the federal building behind me, there were groups of people dancing, playing music.
Oh, yeah. David, that's okay. No mention from David, at least in that segment, of the 500 plus people who were arrested in Los Angeles. No. So it's like
500 plus.
And it's why NBC's news brand is gone. Boom. Okay? Now, on the analysis side, the always reliable Rachel Maddow on MSNBC said this. Go.
You have the president clearly just fundamentally politically unable to contend with the depth and breadth of feeling against him, right? So these must be paid protesters or invaders from somewhere else, or they must all be violent criminals or whatever. No, actually, this is St. Louis, right? This is America. No kings, yes, queens, right? Like this is just us. It's who we are, and this is how we feel about you. I mean, this is Joplin, Missouri. This is Louisville, Kentucky, where thousands of people turned out. This is McHenry, Illinois. This is High Point, North Carolina. It is literally everywhere in this country, Americans in surprising numbers, in surprising places, turning out again and again and again and again to say, no, we are not doing this. You are not taking over our country and turning us into a dictatorship. You are not going to be a king.
Now, that isn't even close to being true. And it's not that Maddow is lying. She believes what she wants to believe.
Yeah.
All right? Doesn't care about researching it or anything like that. 75 million Americans voted for Kamala Harris. I believe, based on exit polling, more than half of those 75 million voted against Trump, not for Kamala. So it's not hard, particularly after the ICE raids and the border being sealed and all of that, not hard to get a segment of the 75 million in Louisville or wherever to come out with a sign that's given to them and say, we don't like Trump.
Yeah, it's not hard. And based on the numbers, just how Bill O'Reilly's putting them out there, he's like, what are you trying to prove exactly? Like, of course there are people out there who, yeah, this is what we feel about Trump. We don't like you. Okay, 75 million voted for Kamala Harris. We know that. So if you just do the numbers, obviously there's people out there that feel like that, right? But it's the way that she puts it out there, you know, and it's like, it's not even being close to true. The way Bill O'Reilly said it, she doesn't do her research. Now, look, listen. As far as Rachel Maddow goes, like we know she has a reputation for being a bit overzealous. It really doesn't bother me. People have their own opinion. Some people say I can't stand MSNBC because they don't report fairly. I personally don't watch any of the mainstream social medias unless I'm reporting on news and I'm sitting here with you guys. Other than that, I get my news from more of I like to say realistic sources. So not mainstream media. But nonetheless, they were amping up this protest so much, saying this was one of the biggest protests and this is one of the biggest turnouts in American history. We've never seen anything like it. And I'm like, dude, I watched the coverage live and someone said there were millions of people that turned out. I said, no, there weren't millions. There were probably tens of thousands, sure. But there weren't millions of people. It literally just wasn't that big. But if you didn't watch it or pay attention to it and you're just looking at what mainstream media says about it, you're going to assume that, okay, yeah, what they're saying is correct. I'm going to kill that fly when I catch it. All right, guys, so switching gears, Fox News clips. The American people deserve the facts. Former FBI special agent on Trump assassination 10. So this was a recent coverage. Let's take a listen.
Branched out from there, and it is a nationwide problem, and people, a lot of them have never even heard of the word jugging, but it's really a play on the word mugging, and it's really the intent to commit theft of another person's money. Knowingly traveling from a commercial business or financial institution on the same path as another person with the intent to take their money and rob them. And again, Texas is taking the lead here and has enacted a bill, House Bill 1902, which would make this a felony. And for law enforcement, we welcome this because this allows us to more closely investigate these crimes, and they are very much specified into theft of money. Again, people need to be aware when you're leaving a bank, a financial institution, a check cashing store, you are a prime target, and there could be people watching you that you don't even realize. So again, to be safe, conduct what I call a detection route for surveillance, a surveillance detection route. Watch your back, watch your surroundings, see if people are following you, and if so, veer off of your normal path and just be safe, be aware. Do not flash money, conceal your money, and if possible, do your transactions online. Do mobile and online transactions to avoid having to physically go to a financial institution, a bank, or an ATM.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, it sounds like this is a case where, people are going to the ATMs because they need the physical cash that they're taking out or putting in. Perhaps even don't go to an outdoor ATM, I would assume, Nicole. Probably better to go inside of your bank branch, but as we know, so many have shut down these days. That can be hard to do as well. These are some of the headlines that are popping up to your point about this happening now nationally. Fox Carolina running a headline on a safety alert. Police are warning about these crimes spreading to upstate. This is Texas, where they ran a headline. Texas legislature is passing a bill to make jugging a criminal offense. I mean, just goes to show you how rampant this is. 7 indicted in a violent Maryland bank jugging crime spree. So lots of states are dealing with this. Meanwhile, I want to get to this, Nicole. Looking back to July 2024 and the attempt on President Trump's life as he was running for another term in office. There's some brand new drone footage featured in Fox Nation's Art of the Surge, the Donald Trump comeback. I want to share some of that with our audience right now. Listen.
He's pumping his fist, but clearly Secret Service wants to get him out of this situation.
Stand up and go fight. Like all of it's supposed to kind of rush back. And I think it's true that everyone knows where they were when they got the news.
I mean, it just gives you a closer look at the Secret Service response, the reactions from the crowd as all of that was unfolding in that incredibly dramatic moment, Nicole.
I mean, it was absolutely chilling. It was alarming, and to see the facial expressions of those in the audience, and really to see the heroic efforts of the Secret Service agents on the stage who immediately jumped into action to protect President Trump. That's what we do in law enforcement. They are expected to put their life on the line to protect him, and that is exactly what they did that day. And again, unfortunately, this debacle never, ever should have occurred. But thankfully, he was safe. He was protected. And I do think that this Fox Nation footage is very powerful. And it's something that all Americans, I think, should be aware of. And I think we all remember where we were when we got that news. I certainly remember where I was. It was almost like a 9/11 moment for all of us in this nation.
I mean, it just brings back a lot of the fear we all felt in that moment as we watched this that day. Nicole, Kash Patel was asked when we're going to know more. The American public, when we will all know more about that Butler shooting. And he said this when talking to Brett Baer end of May.
I don't know that there's more to know, but you're going to know everything we know. And that's the other thing we do. We take assassination attempts, and especially the President of the United States, extremely seriously. And we don't feel that the American people have been given the information they need on that. And we're digging through the files, and we're getting them a more robust picture of what happened.
So perhaps the FBI director is indicating maybe we will learn more. What do you expect to come from their digging?
What I expect is that Director Kash Patel is extremely transparent, Sandra. I came from an era where it was really not a transparent FBI at all. Director Wray, Director Comey, Director Mueller, everything was very, very hush-hush. Now, let's be open and honest and transparent with the American people. The FBI has a trust issue with the American people right now. The best way to regain trust is to be transparent, be open, be honest, and show them what you've got, and show them the facts. They deserve that. This is President Trump, their former and now current president. They deserve to know what happened that day.
And that's why I'm happy that Kash Patel is in office. I'm going to stop there. He has a 10-year appointment, being appointed as the FBI director, and he is very transparent. He talked about that when President Trump will let him speak on the campaign trail. He's been very open about that. And I get what he's saying when he says more to know, because we do know a lot about what happened that day, but he says if you will know what we know. So if they uncover more, I do believe he'll disclose it to the public. And I do think that when he says that we take assassination seriously, especially if it's the President of the United States, in my head I'm thinking, does he even really have to say this? But of course, because the news anchor said it, right? The FBI has a trust issue with the American people right now. And we know that's because if you watch the former FBI director be interviewed in the Senate, that interview went so horrible, and I watched it live. I literally looked over and I said to my wife, I was like, she's gonna get fired. Like, I knew she was gonna, after that hearing, I knew she wasn't gonna be there anymore. And probably about 2 or 3 days later or the next week, she stepped down as director, or she was let go of. So it was, it was not shocking at all. And I was actually pretty excited to see Kash Patel be appointed. So I know that he will be transparent if they find out more and whatever they do find out, and I'll be looking forward to that, and we'll be covering it. All right, guys, so sticking with Fox News, disgusting. Homan puts Democratic governor on blast. This is Tom Homan, our border czar. Let's take a listen.
Border czar Tom Homan joins us now. Is Cuomo a joke?
Yeah. You made it clear that agents who wear a mask protect themselves and their families. Not only are they being doxxed, their spouses are being doxxed. Their children are being doxxed. And you said it, the subject up over 400%. They're doing the job that Congress told them to do, and they appropriate them funding to do. And they're executing orders that a federal judge says, arrest that person, deport that person. They're not making this up. They're trying to protect themselves. The job's already dangerous, but it's much more dangerous now because of the rhetoric you're hearing from the Democrats.
Well, Swalwell wants to arrest ICE agents, and the other Democrats said it's kidnapping what they're doing.
Well, Swalwell, he's far from brilliant, right? So, again, remember Congress? If you don't like what ICE is doing, then legislate. Change the law. Because we're enforcing the laws they enact. We're not making this up. So, it's another Democrat lawmaker who wants to target ICE on enforcing laws they enacted. And meanwhile, he didn't say a word about half a million children being smuggled in the country under Biden. He didn't say a word about losing 300,000 of them. He didn't say a word about over 400 people on terrorist watches coming across. He didn't say a word about a quarter American dying from fentanyl coming across the open border. He didn't say a word about sex trafficking sixfold under Joe Biden. He didn't say a word about a record number of migrants who died crossing the border, which is over 4,000, another historic record. They were silent during all that because they were complicit, because they lied about the border being secure, and they didn't say a word. But now all of a sudden, like you said, It's okay for them to come in, but now we enforce law and make them go home, they have a problem.
Yeah, now they're singing. They're not silent. They're playing the guitar. I'm sorry you had to hear that. Next time we'll give the viewers a little bit of a warning. Gavin Newsom having some drinks while the city was burning, and then he lost in court. What kind of governor is that?
It's disgusting. I was in Los Angeles when the riot started. We were there serving 3 criminal search warrants, part of a criminal investigation into money laundering, tax evasion, and customs fraud in the garment district. And it's part of a bigger investigation about how some of this funding makes it to Colombia and Mexico to fund cartel activity. That's what we were doing. It wasn't an immigration raid. It wasn't a migrant raid. We weren't looking for people different from us. We were serving criminal warrants by part of a bigger overarching criminal investigation. I was there the first 2 nights when 1,000 people surrounded that federal building. We had employees inside. We had aliens we arrested inside put at danger. They were breaching that building. I saw what was happening on the ground. Thank God President Trump deployed the National Guard. It was a great move.
So Joe Biden let in, was it 10, 20? No one knows how many millions of migrants into the country. Do you have the manpower to get them all out of here in the next, 4 years?
No, we don't. That's why the big, beautiful bill needs to get passed. Congress needs to get off their butt and fund this. The American people give President Trump the mandate. For instance, we got 1.4 million illegal aliens walking the streets of this nation who had due process at great taxpayer expense or order removed. They got open order removal. We got to find these people and remove them. We got 600,000 illegal aliens with criminal records walking the streets of this country. President Trump wants to focus on the criminals, the public safety threats, the national security threats. We can't do it with less than 5,000 deportation officers. This bill gives us more deportation officers. It gives us more bed. Every illegal alien we arrest, we need a bed because we got to hold them for several days to several weeks to get them removed on an airplane. We need more air flights. We bus transportation. We can't do this unless Congress gives us the money to do it. Every public safety threat we arrest tonight, tomorrow night, and every night this year makes this country safe again. We can do more with more money. Without money, we're just not going to be able to complete it.
You're saying you have 2 million migrants right now. They've already either gotten due process where a judge has already said, you're out, they've been ordered deported, or they're criminals. They've been convicted of a crime. That's who the Democrats say they want to get out of here. So 2 million already right now.
Hold on, guys. Give me a second. Let me turn the audio back on.
These streets even safer.
Gavin Newsom, cheers. Homan.
Just finished installing air to custom house. Guys, if you're anywhere here in the area and you can use a new air conditioning system in your home right now.
Tom Homan. I mean, when it comes to Tom Homan, he's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, right? My fault about the audio, guys. I gotta work on that. I've been having audio issues lately, but no big deal. But yeah, so Tom Homan, right? He's a hard pill to swallow. So many people get so angry when they hear him and they see him. And they're just like, God, he's so not compassionate. He doesn't care about anything. But I don't think that. I think he's very focused on what he's done. I think he has a lot of respect for President Trump. And I think he's going to get the job done. You know, I think he's very focused on getting it done. And he said he came out of retirement for this. And when President Trump asked him to do it, he was like, I was more than honored to do it. So I believe that he is a man of his word. He's going to stick to what he says he's going to do. So, yeah, I think they're going to focus and they're going to double down. When you hear the numbers, 600,000 illegal aliens walking the streets that have a criminal record, you know, it's like, man, it's a hard pill to swallow. You know, listening to the young lady that we played on the live stream yesterday who was from Brazil, but she was of legal status. I said it yesterday. I said, you know, you have so many people here who are from other countries that came and did the right thing and did it the right way, regardless of how long it took them. They're asking themselves and us, like, why are you guys in such turmoil about so many illegal aliens in your country? In my native country, we wouldn't even put up with this. So, you know, I think we have to literally just take into consideration, like, there's also something called the law of the land. And it's not necessarily about, like, some people just think it's just the president right now is being very heartless. But it's like, listen, it could seem dehumanizing because the clips and the moments and you know the things that the media is capturing and they're putting out there to us. But the fact of the matter is, there is a law of the land that we have to abide by, you know, and that's whether we are citizens of the land or we are foreigners of the land. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit, still with Fox News clips. Doctor who exposed Children's Hospital. These were all lies. So this is about a hospital that was operating a transgender care program but kept it from the public. So let's take a listen.
News outlets accuse the Supreme Court of issuing a huge setback with their 6-3 decision to uphold a ban on sex change treatments for minors, calling it a devastating loss and a major blow to rights and protections. But according to a poll by the New York Times, 71% of Americans oppose these treatments for children. Joining us now with his reaction is Dr. Eitan Haim, a surgeon and a whistleblower, the one who exposed. It was Texas Children's Hospital. They were hiding their pediatric transgender medicine program, hiding it from the public, and he exposed it. So thank you so much, doctor, for coming on with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. You read these headlines, and they're blasting the Supreme Court for their decision. But what do you say? What would you say to the people who are writing these articles?
You know, I think it makes complete sense that they're blasting the Supreme Court decision, because when the media perpetuated the lies surrounding quote-unquote gender-affirming care, they made themselves complicit in one of the most heinous crimes against children in the history of medicine, right? You have these children who are sterilized and mutilated, and the adults, the ones who were supposed to protect them, were the ones who were exploiting their vulnerability in order to benefit their own false virtue, right? It's like the innocence and misery of the innocent was harvested in order for the benefit of the wicked. And, you know, any self-reflection on their part leads to the conclusion that they were themselves complicit in this heinous crime.
So, Dr. Haim, if your child came to you and said, I want to be the opposite sex, what would you say to that child, or what would you say to your patient? Why do you think it's dangerous to take these hormone blockers and other medicines?
Well, because these are the most powerful medications developed in the history of medicine. Like, puberty blockers are used in a very, very select number of endocrine pathologies. Hormones also are used in a very select number of diseases. And the key word is disease. There has to be a diagnosable problem that you have. And if you do not have that problem, then the only thing these doctors are doing is exposing the patient to risk with no benefit. Like, I'm about to do a bunch of surgery on a bunch of patients. Today's my operating room day. Like, the reason I'm operating on them is because they have a disease. They have a diagnosable problem. And these children and even adults, right? This idea that their gender identity is not aligned with their quote unquote sex assigned at birth, that's a fantasy. That's not real. That's witchcraft. It's like using a rabbit's foot to treat a bleeding carotid artery. It makes no sense.
Huh, that's interesting. There are some people that we've interviewed that have detransitioned and they regretted having their breasts removed at a young age or taking some of these hormones and that kind of thing. And they say the doctor would tell their parents, well, you either need to do this or your child's going to commit suicide. So what do you say to parents that are out there that are struggling with this issue?
You know, I think that it's hard to tell them exactly what to do and what to say, because every child is different. Every person who's going through this is different. They're going through it for different reasons. And I think it really depends on the situation, because some people need tough love. Some people need to be cut off completely. And some people need to be withdrawn from a social environment that's very poisonous. And, you know, it's important to remember the idea that if they don't have these interventions, they're going to kill themselves, that's a lie. That's not true. That was confirmed in the Supreme Court, the oral arguments in November of 2024. The lead attorney for the ACLU, Chase Strangio, this woman, even, you know, in an exchange with Justice Alito, had confirmed there's no evidence to show that. There's no evidence to show that there's a decrease in completed suicide. right? It's a kind of a bait and switch, right? It's actually suicidality. It's the thoughts of suicide
Dr. Adams?
that they kind of showed.
This is so interesting. I could talk to you for a long time about this. Thank you so much for coming on. I wish you all the best with your surgeries today, but we've got to go to a break. Thank you for coming on.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox.
What I can appreciate is his honesty. You know, he didn't answer it right away like, you know what, yeah, like, if it were my child, I would automatically tell my child, like, no, you know, like, you're going to hell. Or like, no, you know, like, this just isn't true and you're being brainwashed. He put it out there like, this should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. Like, it's very subjective because every person, every child is going through it for different reasons. And I can appreciate that answer. You know, he didn't cast a wide net and just say, hey, if your child's going through this is probably the reason why. So I can appreciate, because that's the type of doctor that's taking the time to actually talk to the children that he's encountering and not just, you know, doing, you know, surgeries on them or, you know, just going along with the parents and saying like, my child doesn't know what they're talking about, ignore them. Like, no, he's probably has had conversations with these kids and he said, you know, if it was my child, it's just a case by case basis. So I can appreciate that answer. I personally am, I'm happy the Supreme Court upheld it. I am, because I don't have a problem with people getting sex changes. I don't care about that. But I do have a problem with someone doing it whose brain isn't fully developed and they can do it at an age where they feel like they are super convinced this is what I really want. I know, I'm sure. And then now, 10 years later, maybe not even 10 years later, 5 years later, 20 years later, you know, they are much more mature. They are a full-blown adult with a fully formed brain. And there's a part of them, or there are parts or many parts, if not all of them, that's like, wow, I really regret that decision, or I wish there was someone that would have tried to talk me out of that decision. And sometimes people don't even try to talk the kid out of the position because there were so many rhetorics pushed in. You know, some people were saying, oh, it's the school teachers and it's the counselors and it's the therapists saying that if I don't let my child do this, they're going to kill themselves. So now you have fearful parents that are just going along with things that they would never go along with, and it was strictly out of fear. You know, so I can appreciate the doctor being honest about that and just not casting a wide net and saying like, yeah, this is how you should deal with this. All right, guys. So, second to last clip of the night, we got a Fox News clip. Sunny Hostin opens up about infamous Kamala Harris interview.
Our water.
Past the.
And to stay away. The former president reemerging to speak at a. Despite Democrats wanting him to stay away, the former president reemerging to speak at a Juneteenth event in Texas. Listen.
We need to be honest about our history. Yeah. Especially as we define our answer to erase our history. Not just say that this guy.
And new Fox News polling reveals 68% of Americans believe the Biden White House wasn't honest about the former president's mental fitness.
It says, was previous White House honest and transparent about Biden's mental health fitness? Yes, 29%. They're all sleeping. No, 68%.
Fox News contributor and senior writer for the Washington Examiner, Joe Concha, joins us now. Joe, good morning to you. So really two parts to this. First is Joe Biden's attacks on President Trump, accusing him of trying to erase history. And the second part is that he was speaking in public when many people in his party wish that he wouldn't do that.
Yeah, Carly, I mean, one would think that Joe Biden would go quietly into the night. He is toxic. He is unpopular. He is, as a public figure, when you think about like those who should not be doing events like this, Democrats will even tell you that they do not want him in the spotlight because it is a constant reminder of the failure that was his presidency. And more importantly, it was a reminder that almost every Democrat and the media covered up the fact that his brain turned to mashed potatoes years ago, and yet he was the commander-in-chief for 4 years. But the Bidens, I guess, really seem to love money, so they continue to do these appearances as long as he's paid to do it, and that's just the reality for Democrats at this point. They want him to go away because every time he does, it owns a news cycle. But I guess Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, will continue to push him being in public. And again, the fact that, nearly 70% of people think that they were not honest about his cognitive decline while he was in office is just so telling as far as what the Democratic Party did and how this will haunt them for years to come.
Yeah, they're not real happy that Joe is speaking anywhere. Texas, Alaska.
Yeah, they don't want him in public at all.
Quiet. Meantime, I want to get your thoughts on this. The View's Sunny Hostin opening up about her interview with Kamala Harris, the infamous one, and that infamous question, would you do anything different from Joe Biden? Watch.
I knew it instantly when she answered it, which is why I asked a follow-up question. Is there one thing? I thought it was a really fair question, and I thought it was a question that she would expect. I expected her answer to be something like, we have won. I intend to build on those wins, but of course I'm going to be different because I'm a woman of color. I'm a child of immigrants. Assume that was the answer, and then I didn't get that.
Yeah, obviously there's that implication there that Sonny tried to help Kamala. So what's worse, that Kamala didn't prepare for that obvious question that everybody knew was coming, that she should have had a stock-prepared answer for that was better than nothing, or that Sonny Hostin,
she would have had to
the
prepare for those
ABC News
questions.
Division, mind you,
You
is
can't
so
help her.
open
She would have had
about
to
wanting
be ready
to
for
save
that.
Kamala in that interview.
Oh, wow. This got a big chunk in my book. The irony that The View took down Kamala Harris. Of all places, the one place that Democrats have never failed as far as interviews, Kamala Harris somehow did it. I'll be quick here, guys. You have to love the fact, to your point, Todd, that Sonny Hostin was part of the ABC News division openly and publicly lamenting that she failed in her job to get Kamala Harris elected. That's not the job of anybody who's part of a news division, but apparently Sonny Hostin thought it was. And
Yeah, that's what I
Trump
said. You
won
can't help Kamala.
because
She would have had to
you
prepare for those
took
questions.
down Kamala Harris. The irony is so thick you can cut it with a knife, guys.
Joe, thank you for joining us. We
Thanks,
appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
I'm Steve.
There's usually someone that
I mean,
helps,
we are hard.
the candidates, especially the presidential candidates, prepare for those questions. Hey, let's go over if they was to say, hey, Kamala, is there anything different you would do than the current sitting president? Or is there anything different you would do than Joe? Those are like prep questions, that's why I'm saying you can't help Kamala because she would have had to be prepared for those questions and they weren't preparing her right. Not to mention, like, she did kind of get just thrown in there. There were no primaries, nothing went out. It was just kind of like, this is the next presidential candidate. And, so not only was it a shock to the American people, I'm sure it was just as much as a shock to her. All right, guys, so switching gears, we got Cliff Buell. Shout out to Cliff Buell. We usually end the live stream with the Christian clip. Go check out Cliff's channel if you get a chance. First name Cliff, last name Buell. Tonight's topic is Book of Revelation gets explained. So this was very interesting, this gentleman that put these things together for the Book of Revelation. I thought it was very interesting. I'm not going to read super into it, but I just thought, because I nerd out on things like this when it pertains to the Bible, I just wanted to share with you guys. So it says Apocalypse Horsemen Explained. So this is a man's take, his explanation on the horsemen that appear in the Book of Revelation. Let's take a listen.
Oh my gosh, the Book of Revelation is explained here.
Here's my simplest explanation of the Book of Revelation, especially the first 4 horses of the Apocalypse. The question is, why these 4? Why these colors? There is information contained in the colors. God is not trying to confuse us, and He's not just throwing colors out there. There must be a rational justification for why He picked these 4. Take a look at your screen. What do you see? Here's the symbol, the national symbol of next door neighbor to Israel, Jordan. What colors do you see? Can you help me here? white, red, black, and green. And then if you go next door, inside the territory of Israel, there is the Palestinian, symbolized by that flag. What colors do you see on the national flag of Sudan? Let's go to Kuwait. Let's go to the United Arab Emirates. What colors do you see? All right, well, let's just go to Libya because it could just be coincidence here. Okay, let's go to Afghanistan. What do you see? Let's go to Syria. What do you see? Let's go to Iraq. What do you see? I wonder if God has successfully communicated something.
Oh my gosh, the book of Revelation.
Of course he has successfully communicated something. He always does. He's done it for history. It's interesting, right, to see him say that and to list the white, red, green, and black, and see those are the colors of the four horsemen, and then put all of those flags in those territories next to Israel, and they all match up with those colors of the horsemen that we see. This is the type of stuff where I'm like, the Bible is the biggest flex there is on the planet. This is where I usually say things, and I give that a tribute to the Bible because it just deserves it. I mean, and I love the fact that he put it together like that. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, that's exactly what it means, and I'm going to exegete it for you, and I'm going to say, like, this guy is spot on. I'm going to say that I think it was a great take on it. You know, I've heard a couple people try to break down the book of Revelation, and I like the book of Revelation a lot. You know, I've read it. Like, I enjoy listening to people's take on it. I think John MacArthur has a very decent take on it. You know, it's lengthy, you know, and he can get pretty deep. It might even get a little boring to you sometimes, depending on what kind of pastors you normally like to watch. But I think he has a decent take on it. You know, there are a couple of guys out there. R.C. Sproul did as well, but they're kind of in the same camp. But there are other people as well. If you go out there and you just take a look at it. I like to watch debates about it, so I watched a lot of debates about the book of Revelation. So just hearing his take on it and then actually seeing him line all of those flags up together with all of those neighboring nations next to Israel, I just thought it was super cool. I wanted to share it with you guys. All right, guys, so I'm going to wrap the live stream up for tonight. We will be back tomorrow Saturday. So the last couple Saturdays, I haven't been able to have my early live streams or able to live stream twice like I like to. And it looks like I'm coming up to the points where I can do that now that my work site is moved. I'm more adjusted there, kind of moved in, unpacked, back to work. Things are very much more settled than what they were about a week and 2 weeks ago, especially a month ago. So yeah, tomorrow with hopefully we have it planned that we will be on here twice. Once early on, the second later in the day, but not late like tonight. Late like probably like 6. So with that being said, you guys just look out for that. Take care of yourselves, guys. Take care of one another. Love yourselves. Love one another. Be peaceful. Peace.